Thank you, Rick, Joanna, Jeff, for cultivating this for the past, for the coming 8 year, Earth 8th year. These spaces are important. They're important to me. It's important for me to come together with others. And just like you said, I can sit and hone my practice by myself, but there's something that happens when we come together. So thank you for the efforts. Mm. So I would love to speak a little bit about my intention for the day and share it with you. And I'm also aware that we may have a wide variety of experience and intentions and practices in the room. So first and foremost, I just want to invite you to take whatever works for you. I was humbly invited to speak and share with you my practice, what happens with me when I'm sitting on the cushion, and hopefully it will be of benefit. But you may have your own practices, and maybe you're here really just to dive into the depths of the silence. So I invite you to do that, do whatever is useful to you to connect with that is most meaningful to you. Hmm. I also want to acknowledge, just take a moment. I'm calling from Harlem, from New York City. I'm very curious to know where folks are from. If you'd like to share, maybe in your name tag, you can rename yourself with your name, just so I get a sense. And I have a feeling we're a pretty international group. I already see names that I recognize from different countries. And that's also a very precious thing that happens, especially with technology. And what One Meditation is offering is that we're actually able to connect globally and raise the awareness frequency around the planet just by coming together. As I'm speaking, I'm going to slow down my speaking, and I'm going to introduce myself into the day and into the portal of the silence that we'll be sharing. I want to acknowledge the land that I'm on, and this land has been stewarded by the Lenape people for hundreds of years. So I want to acknowledge that, and I want to invite and invoke their presence here with humility and appreciation. Not to take for granted the bounty that's available to me and to each one of us, wherever we're from. And I see Belgium, and I see Canada, and I see Germany, and New York, and Ohio. And I see more. Wonderful. So as we're consciously Montreal, thank you. As we're consciously about to step into a 4-hour journey together, I invite us to just take a moment and take a deep breath and just acknowledge your body right here. And this body would be both our refuge, our base camp, and the gateway through the portal into the land of this moment. We never really leave it, but our minds do. And I want to invite you to close your eyes and maybe invoke anything or anyone that you'd like to have their presence with you for the next 4 hours, whether those are teachers or mentors, perhaps ancestors, your lineage. And if perhaps nothing comes up and you don't really know who to invoke, just invoke the energy of yearning for that. And let your mind surprise you by whoever shows up. In the same way that we're gathering here and we're in the presence of one another, we're also in the presence of infinite relationalities, cause and effect, choices of other people, and the natural flow of the universe. And as we slowly stepping in into this deeper space, slowing down, remembering our body, our breath, our entire sensory experience, I invite you to come back to it at any point. If my own speech gets confusing or maybe exciting, all of this is the realm of practice. Your experience is so much more important than what I'm saying. I, on this side of the screen, am doing the same. I'm entering a careful tracking of my own body and my own heart and my own mind as I'm speaking. And as I was sitting and bearing witness to what was coming up for me as I was preparing for sitting together and knowing that I'll have the privilege of your attention, recognizing that we're a few days away from a, an important socio-political event, at least in the United States, in terms of changing leadership. I'm also aware that we're almost a year into a very challenging year of pandemic, of social unrest, of great losses, great challenges. We've just started a new year, 2021. And we're holding a lot. I'm holding a lot. So, with this renewed hope that I've been feeling and this renewed momentum with the new year, I was looking at the sense of this cycle of sovereignty. Sovereignty in terms of agency, of maintaining a clear choice of my awareness. That's the extent that I step into relating to free will. My free will is really limited to the choice of being aware. And maintaining that choice is the practice of sovereignty. I have a human psyche. I have aspects of trauma in my body and my mind. And I can only imagine that many of us do. And reclaiming my sovereignty and our sovereignty over our hearts and our bodies and our minds is such an important part in growth, in opening our hearts. So, as I was looking at this aspect of myself and in my practice of how am I relating to my mind and my heart and others, I recognize perhaps four models of sovereignty or leadership in a more simpler term. And I want to speak of them in relationship to meditation, in relationship to my mind and my heart. And I'll draw some examples from different faiths, and Manona expressed my relationship with Zen Buddhism and Judaism. I want to be mindful how I speak of these different faiths. I am of Jewish ancestry, of blood lineage. I'm grateful to have been partaking in the Buddhist lineage as it moved to the West from the East, from Japan and China. I want to be mindful that even as I speak of it and as I may use terminology from Buddhist lineages or lineages that simply my blood is not from, I want to acknowledge that there's a greater context to where these teachings come from. I want to acknowledge the cultural, ancestral aspects of these teachings that I don't have access to. I don't know what it's like to grow up with Buddhist lullabies. So I just want to be aware and mindful as I speak of these amazing teachings. So the first state of mind of sovereignty or leadership that I find myself very often, and I can imagine many of us do, is the sovereign of the tyrant. In the Hebrew structure, in the Hebrew stories, it personifies in Pharaoh, this just very strong-willed ruler that even has the audacity to believe that he created everything, and he created the Nile, the river, the flow, the abundance. And I know that in me. I know what it feels like to know that I got this, that even the flow of my experience is somehow under my control. And I have my domain. Even here, I'm sitting before you, and I have my computer, and I have my notes, and I have my phone, and I have my water, and I'm controlling my domain. And that's important. There are ways we need to orient in the world. But there's no space there. There's not a lot of heart either. That place of the tyrant is also could be looking a place of worthlessness, where the state of mind that is somehow dominating, well, it's simply a dominating state of mind, where this is how things are. In a more subtle experience of meditation, this is really simply the experience of this experience is my own. I have a strong sense of self. I know I'm sitting here. This feeling, this thought, they're mine. Maybe they belong to me. Maybe I believe I'm experiencing my psychological self and I really am invested in exploring and liberating my psychological self. I'm still thinking in terms of my own and myself. That too is a pharaoh state of mind. And it's natural. It's part of the cycle. And what I'll refer to today is the cycle of inauguration. This is where I begin each moment of self awareness. So, as I'm sitting with any moment, and I'll be sitting with you, and all of us will be sitting together for the next few hours, we'll meet a moment. There'll be a recognition that this is us, we're sitting here. Is there space? Is there wonder? And that wonder is personified in another model of a ruler, and it comes from China, Emperor Wu. And there's many exchanges between Emperor Wu and Bodhidharma, who is the first Zen ancestor. And in the Blue Cliff record, there's a koan that speaks about this Emperor Wu, who has been a powerful, rich, and also benevolent ruler over China. And he hears that this sage has just come from India, this sage that has some kind of a penetrating wisdom. And he wants to suss him out. So he calls him over. And he tells him, I've built all of these temples. I've exerted all of my power. He's aware of his pharaohness, but he's saying, I've used all of my power for practice, for developing others, people's well being. What is the merit of all of this? And Bodhidharma is known for his um, fearlessness and fierceness. And his answer is very simple. He says, no merit at all. No merit. So Emperor Wu shows us that there's at least a question. Otherwise, he wouldn't have invited this wise person. So as we will be sitting in meditation, is there a moment where our inner knowing can lean a little bit into what's the merit of this? Is there something more? There's a glimpse of humility. This answer from Bodhidharma, no merit, can sound insulting. And sometimes that's what our inner rulers need. So the first half of this cycle of inauguration is softening and sometimes dethroning our inner ruler, even the one who manages our meditation, even the one that gauges our breath, or the one that labels our thoughts. There is a merit to that up to a point. And at one point, if there is some openness, or at least the yearning to experience a different kind of domain and a different kind of relationship with this domain. This domain is a field. It's the field of our senses and our thoughts and our feelings, our perceptions. And at the zenith of that cycle of inauguration, there's no word to call things. I want to pause here for a moment. I want to take a breath. I want to invite you to take a breath and just be aware of your body again, being here. Noticing your state of mind as it's been listening. Noticing your heart. It's open, contracted. What are the senses, perceptions? What are you hearing? And as you connect with these different perceptions, no need to name them. Be at that zenith of that circle. Just be in it. Noticing the mind of Pharaoh, who's trying to assert an explanation or reality, or even Emperor Wu, who is wondering, is there more? So for a moment, be there with Bodhidharma's no merit. Just this. This is the field that the Sufi master Rumi speaks about, beyond right doing and wrongdoing. And this is where we meet, because there's no I or you in there, because we're not calling things things. So this is a place rife for practice, and we'll be practicing through that place in the cycle, because this cycle will continue moment after moment throughout the next few hours. So it's important to recognize it and recognize its intensification while it's there, and then as it falls away. So there's a turning point. Some point within this spaciousness, our mind will kick in again. To a degree, it's not even up to us. It will either return to a pharaoh state of mind, or if there's an openness, and again, this is actually not up to us. This is just where trust and faith comes in, is where we can remain in this field and become the master of that field. We're aware of our awareness in this field. We're not zoned out anywhere. We're here. We're perceiving. That's a different kind of perception of things. Maybe there's more spaciousness or even just a sense of relief. It doesn't need to be too out there. And there's a wonderful teaching by a Jewish master named Rabbi Nachman, who talks about being the master of the field and just walking in this field, and everything you see is just flowers. And sometimes there will be what he refers to as some kind of lost souls at the perimeter of the field. And as the master of the field that is now not ruling with force and is led through its humility, inviting them into that field of flowers. So as we will be sitting and we'll be seeing different parts of ourselves, whether they're ones that we love and like, as the flowers are, or perhaps they're some aspects of ourselves that we feel ashamed of or angry, confused about. We invite them into that field. The ground of this field is our body and our breath. And every time our mind moves to explain or say anything, just bring it back into the reality of the ground of this body, this field. Every time we do this, we nurture the ground. We rekindle the sovereignty of our ability to choose where we place our awareness, and also expanding the field to include more. So the practice is very simple. As you see your mind moves, you bring it back to your breath and your body, releasing the thought that is related to a feeling or an experience, just letting that thought go back into the ground. We're not dismissing anything, we're not negating anything. The thoughts actually want to be absorbed by the body, by the field, by the ground of our bodies, but they're afraid, and that's why they stay in thought form. So when we release the thought and come back to the feeling of the body, the feeling that is behind the thought, we're nurturing this body. And again, through this body, then we're entering the presence of this moment. I'm taking a breath with you right there. The last part of the cycle of inauguration is a step beyond even being the master of this field. And to relate to it, I'll invoke a very powerful poem, and I'll read only part of it. But that's from a unknown Gnostic writer that was found in Nag Hammadi in Egypt, and it's attributed to either agnostic, possibly an Isis acolyte, with possibly some Hebrew roots there, and it's called the Thunder Perfect Mind. And before I read it, I just want to acknowledge that all of the other models that I related to, whether it was Pharaoh or Emperor Wu, Bodhidharma, or even the Master of the Field, they're all male. That's how they're brought down to us. Hmm. I wanted to just acknowledge that my experience of this Master of the Field was so much my experience with my teacher Bernie. And I could really feel how he would collect the souls and the flowers in this kind of grandfatherly way. So I just want to invoke him and his presence here with us. That fourth model, this thunder perfect mind, is actually written in female first and third person. And it's heralded as a powerful invocation of a goddess energy. And it's so perfect and so thunderous that it includes all of this. It includes the master, the flower, the souls, the field, Pharaoh, the Nile. It includes power. It includes powerlessness. And this is just a part of it. I was sent forth from the power, and I have come to those who reflect upon me. I have been found among those who seek after me, look upon me, you who reflect upon me, and you hearers who hear me. You who are waiting for me, take me to yourselves. Do not banish me from your sight. Do not be ignorant of me anywhere. Be on your guard, for I am the first and the last. I am the honored one and the scorned one. I am knowledge and ignorance. I am shame and boldness. I am shameless and I am ashamed. I am strength and I'm fear. I am war and I am peace. Do not hate my obedience and do not love my self control. In my weakness, do not forsake me and do not be afraid of my power. I'll repeat that and take that in and say that personally to yourself. In my weakness, do not forsake me and do not be afraid of my power, your power. I am the silence that is incomprehensible and the idea whose remembrance is frequent. I am the voice whose sound is manifold and the word whose appearance is multiple. I am the utterance of my name. So, in a few moments, we'll hear a bell that will usher us into a transition where you can take care of yourself, your needs, your body, any nurturing or nourishment you need, and then we'll reconvene at the round hour. I invite you to keep that strand and stability of attention, returning to this field, returning to this cycle, waking up to the moment of mind, bringing in some wonder and humility, not knowing into what is this experience, bearing witness to the totality of experience rooted in our bodies, and then including it all. And that's simply the cycle of this moment to moment experience that we've been gifted as humans. And I wanted to call this the cycle of inauguration, both because we're facing an important inauguration politically, globally, but each moment we have a choice to inaugurate ourselves, to welcome wise, compassionate leader that is in us. And to meet our domain with that compassion and that openness. And if you'll be staying with us for the next 3 or more hours, welcome. The fourth hour will be a bit shorter in meditation, and about halfway through, we'll open it up for some individual sharings in presence with one another, guided, and just bring this to a close. So that is our plan for the rest of our day. So I invite you to stay as long as you want. And again, I'm thanking all of our organizers for bringing us together.